Satvinder S. Juss. Satvinder Singh Juss Ph.D. Cantab, FRSA, is a professor of law at King's College London, UK and a Barrister-at-Law of Gray's Inn, London, UK. He has published widely on the subjects of migration and human rights law. Biography. Satvinder Juss is an expert in constitutional practice, human rights, and refugee law, focusing particularly on policy-oriented work. Satvinder Juss was born and raised in colonial East Africa, Tanganyika, now Tanzania, in 1958, during the time of the Mau Mau independence movement. His family settled in Wolverhampton in 1968, where Enoch Powell MP made his Rivers of Blood speech. See http://www. Allen London. Company. UK/What's On. PhD. Event equals 165,140. Juss has a BA degree in law and a PhD in administrative law from Cambridge University in the United Kingdom. He is currently a professor of law at King's College London and serves on the Government of Wales Panel of Advocates 2012, as well as the Equality and Human Rights Panel of Advocates 2015. In 2009, Juss was invited by the Home Affairs Select Committee to a seminar on human trafficking in the Houses of Parliament, an event that united the chairs of the Home Affairs Committees in Europe in an attempt to synchronize standards and procedures. In 2013, Juss was a member of the Slavery Working Group at the Centre for Social Justice, whose report led to the UK government passing the Modern Slavery Act 2015. Juss is a barrister in the High Court and the Court of Appeal, has argued cases before the British House of Lords and the Privy Council of the United Kingdom, and sits as a deputy judge of the Upper Tribunal. He has worked with many brain trust organizations such as Encounter, the Royal Society of Arts, and the Rotary Trust, for whom he has given policy speeches. Juss appears in the Legal 500 and is considered a legal expert in the Directory of Legal Experts. Juss has taught at universities in the UK and the US, including the University of Cambridge and Indiana University in Bloomington. Juss has given various keynote speeches and addresses, such as at York University, Toronto, on sexual identity, refugee law, and the right to live openly and freely 2011, the University of Bergen, Norway 2012, the Alice Tay Lecture on Law and Human Rights in Australia 2013, and the Australian National University Lecture Canberra on Challenges, Sovereignty 2014. He has also been involved with events celebrating the 800th anniversary. Main practice areas: constitutional law, including public law and administration law, civil liberties and police civ, professional discipline and appellate work, including Privy Council, immigration. Juss has special expertise in comparative constitutional law and public and administration law. He is the director of the MA course in International Peace and Security at King's College Law School in London and specializes in international refugee law and in human rights, public law and comparative law. He is a member of the editorial board of the Journal of Sikh Formations, Religion, Culture, Theory. His work in this respect has emphasized the increasing encounter of Sikhism and the law in contemporary liberal Western society. Recent articles by Juss have used post-colonial critique to emphasize the link between the War on Terror and international refugee law in The Post-Colonial Refugee, Dublin Roman II, and The End of Non-Refoulement, International Journal of Minority and Group Rights Vol. 20, No. 2, 2013, Terrorism and the Exclusion of Refugee Status, Journal of Conflict and Security Law Vol. 17, 2012, pp. 138, Complicity, Exclusion, and the Unworthy in Refugee Law, Refugee Survey Quarterly Vol. 31, No. 3. 2012 p. 139, Refugee Law and the Protection of Children Fleeing Conflict and Violence in Afghanistan, Journal of Conflict and Security Law, Vol. 18, No. 2, 2013 pp. 289-330. He is the author of 5 books. Professor Juss' most recent books include Contemporary Issues in Refugee Law with a foreword by Lord Phillips, and the Ashgate Research Companion on Migration Law Theory and Policy, with a foreword by Dr. Volker Turk of the UNHCR. He has just completed a jointly authored book, Toward a Refugee-Oriented Reform of Refugee Law with Prof. Laura Westra at Prof. Tuolo Scavesi for Ashgate in 2015. Juss has also published 2 articles in 2015, The Notion of Complicity in Refugee Law in the Journal of International Criminal Justice, Vol. 12, No. 5 pp. 1183-1200, Sexual Orientation and the Sexualization of Refugee Law, the International Journal of Minority and Group Rights, Vol. 22, No. 1 pp. 128-153. His current work in progress includes Landmark Cases in Public Law with Prof. Maurice Sunkham by Bloomsbury Press. Awards and recognition. 2015 appointed for a 4-year term to the panel of counsel which advises the British government's Equality and Human Rights Commission. 2014 delivered the annual Human Rights Lecture for the New Zealand Centre for Human Rights Law, Policy and Practice. 2013 delivered the Alice Tay Lecture on Law and Human Rights, Australian National University, Canberra, Australia. Selected publications. Books. Juss, Satvinder S. 2007. International Migration and Global Justice Law and Migration, paperback, Ashgate Publishing, ISBN 1,409,493,466. Juss, Satvinder S. 1994. Immigration, Nationality and Citizenship, Rep. 1994 ed. London, Mansell. ISBN 720,122,120. Juss, Satvinder S. 1998. Judicial Discretion and the Right to Property 1. Pubble. ed. London, U.A., Pinter. ISBN 1,855,675,315. Interaction between compilers and computer architecture, Interact 9, 2005, 9th IEE Conference by Satvinder S. Juss, hardcover, Sep 2005. Juss, Satvinder 2013. A Guide to the Asylum and Immigration Treatment of Claimants, etc. Act 2004. Routledge. ISBN 978-1,135,327,200. Articles. The Decline and Decay of European Refugee Policies, Oxford Journal of Legal Studies, Vol. 25, No. 4, Winter 2005 pp. 749-792. Constitutionalizing Rights Without a Constitution, The British Experience under Article 6 of the Human Rights Act 1998, 27 No. 1 pp. 132. Rule-making and the Immigration Rules, A Retreat from Law. Statute Law Review, published by Oxford University Press, 1992, Vol. 13, No. 2 pp. 150-164, ISIN 144 3593. Suspects' Rights and Pace, Can the Courts Do the Balancing Trick? Statute Law Review, published by Oxford University Press, 1991, Vol. 11, No. 3 pp. 211-226, ISIN 144 3593. The Meaning of Error in Appellate Review in Judicial Review, December 2004, Vol. 9, Issue 4, pp. 299-304, ISIN 1085 4681. Medical Treatment Pragmatism and the Search for Principle with Professor Nigel Lowe, Modern Law Review 1993 Vol. 56, pp. 865-872, ISIN 26 7961. Towards a Morally Legitimate Reform of Refugee Law, The Uses of Cultural Jurisprudence, Harvard Human Rights Journal 1998 Vol. 11, Spring, pp. 311-354. ISIN 1057 5057. Pritchard v. Cobden 1987 WLRP 627. An Unusual Claim in the Court of Appeal Cambridge Law Journal 1986 July, p. 210. Judicial Review and the Duty to Give Adequate Reasons Cambridge Law Journal 1986 November, p. 372. Declaration of Trust and Severance of Joint Tenancy The End of the Story. Cambridge Law Journal 1986 July, p. 205.